I'm going to be talking about actual structural changes to places and how remediating infrastructure, disadvantaged communities can reduce gun violence. So it's a well-known fact. Kind of the motivation behind this is that gun violence and serious crime is highly concentrated by place. Anywhere from 3 to 6% of street segments, for example, account for about 50% of reported gun violence and serious crime. The concentration of gun violence by place also appears to be relatively stable over time, suggesting there are endemic features of violent crime hotspots. So we see this in even recent work with during the pandemic, the rise in shootings and homicides. You see the areas with the chronically highest rates suffered the worst. And this suggests at least that thinking more strategically about the routine activities of places and how to regulate those places may be more easy to address in the routine activities of persons. This is a quote from Larry Sherman from his work on hotspots of crime. So the question then naturally is, what are the salient features of the built environment that we think about that could be changed to reduce gun violence and serious crime? And so that's what I'm going to present an example of that from some of our work. So this is just to give you a graph of Philadelphia. So if we look at, for example, Philadelphia from 2015 through the end of 2020, we see about 2.3% of street blocks are responsible for 50% of the shootings. 10%, about 11% are responsible for all shootings in the city. And for those that are academics and think about statistical significance, if we compare this to kind of a simple Poisson process, it suggests that shootings are highly concentrated, more than we get by chance. So it turns out that one of the features of the built environment that we see again and again, not just in Philadelphia, but in cities across the country that suffer from chronically high rates of gun violence are either vacant lots or abandoned buildings. There's a literature in criminology that suggests that these types of, this kind of neglected feature of the built environment tends to generate crime, especially maybe when it's in the presence of other aspects of the built environment that bring people together, like schools, transit station, bars, or taverns, so places that generate human activity, especially among strangers. And there are some theories to suggest why this might, in particular, these features of the built environment may be particularly endemic to high rates of crime. So for example, physical disorder research suggests, descriptive research at least, that influences neighborly socialization. This has been coined the term collective efficacy by Rob Sampson, Felton Earls. So if you think about vacant lots and they're overgrown with weeds, tall grass, these may send a signal that there's kind of a hole in the social fabric of a community. It may diminish the perception that residents feel like they can act as guardians for these places when they're overgrown and uncared for. And it may even shape our unconscious social interactions, or what Jane Jacobs kind of famously noted in her work about not just eyes upon the street, but this idea of that there are natural proprietors of places. So when an area is abandoned, it's neglected, people may withdraw. This also connects to the original formulation of broken windows theory, and the idea that physical disorder leads to a reduction in informal social control. I'll make it very clear, I'm not talking about broken windows policing, I'm talking about broken windows theory. If you actually read the article where they talk about this how disorder leads to other people to think that area suffers from a lack of informal social control. And also it connects to some work, some theories about how physical disorder and land use can even just shape criminal opportunities, or the situational aspects of crime. So we see this in work on crime prevention through environmental design, Ron Clark's work out of the United Kingdom on situational crime prevention, and the Branningham's work on what they refer to as crime pattern theory. So I'll give you a tangible example now. So in Philadelphia, since the late 1990s, there's been a program today called Philadelphia LandCare that is engaged in strategically going around the city and remediating vacant and abandoned lots. So this is an example of their work that they do before and after treatment. So what you can see is they basically, they'll hard scrape out an area, they'll plant grass, they'll install this unobtrusive fence that allows people to walk onto the property but not back up a truck. Often they'll plant some bushes or trees, and then this gets cared for on a bi-weekly basis between March and November during the season, kind of the planting and growing season in Philadelphia. This started as initially a pilot program in one community in an effort to deal with abandoned spaces. And it was just a pilot in the Kensington neighborhood with the Pennsylvania Horticultural Society who ran this program, and then it's been scaled up over time. For those that might be interested in this program, I would point to the website on PHS and in particular highlight Keith Green here, who manages this program. Keith's been working at PHS and actually in LandCare, initially doing the work himself, and in the last 20 years moving up to actually running the program. So some recent research we did, we've done both experimental work as well as quasi-experimental work on this program. And so I want to just kind of give you an example here from a recent publication in the Journal of Experimental Criminology, where we looked at lots that were remediated between 2006 and 2018. And we compared those to abandoned lots that had yet to be remediated in the same general locations of the city. So this is a massive program, as you can see. Just in that time period, PHS took over control of over 4,000 lots. But City of Philadelphia, like many cities, legacy cities, suffering from disinvestment, deindustrialization, still has plenty of abandoned lots to be treated. So I'll just highlight the bottom statistic. You can ignore all the other rows of data here. But what I highlight here is if you look at the change in robbery between lots that were greened versus those that weren't, but are similarly situated, we see a 21% reduction in robbery. We see 11% reduction in drug-related offenses, a 9% reduction in public order, and a total crime reduction of 5.6%. We also in this paper looked at how that might interact with different land uses nearby that could be crime generators or suppressors. And we found that the effects were actually bigger, if you will, if they weren't done near a train or a bar. So in other words, you may get some greater crime reduction benefit when this work's done strategically, especially in residential communities. We also we did a randomized trial where we had 541 lots that were randomly assigned to be either remediated or not, left on a wait list. And we found comparable results, reductions in robbery. Here we actually found reductions in assaults, drug offenses, public order offenses, and total crime. The size of the effects are kind of similar, but they're on different scales. One's looking at thousands of lots. This is looking at 541. We also had some survey data, so we did look at social cohesion to see if that improved around lots that were remediated. And we found some suggestive evidence, but not statistically significant in terms of questions of asking people about how much time they spend socializing with their neighbors, watching out for each other, et cetera. In terms of actual gun violence, the work from this randomized trial, we found that shootings were reduced significantly around lots that were received either full treatment or even a partial treatment, which is basically just picking up the trash and mowing the lots on a bi-weekly basis. There's several studies that I kind of highlighted here, but all kind of the conclusion is from across all the different studies we've done on this program, starting out initially a study in 2010, the more recent one I highlighted, as well as this work on shootings. We found consistent effects of Philadelphia's LandCare program And I'll just point out, but this program is not alone. It's not just something happening in Philadelphia. It's happening in cities around the country. Chicago has a similar program, Youngstown, Ohio, Flint, Michigan, and even New Orleans has started a similar program. And this and other aspects of how we can change the built environment to improve community safety is highlighted in my book, Changing Places, which is written for a general audience, has no equations or math in it. So thank you very much. I enjoyed the chance to present this work.